Good evening, welcome to Camp RedArmy. Really excited, looking forward to the show. Got an amazing guest. Got Dave Roberts on the show finally. Just done two dream teams, Dave, isn't it?
Mate, you banned me from the couch. I've been on twice since you banned me. Something gone wrong there, hasn't it?
No, I love it. I love having you on. Natural progression. It was always from this seat to that seat, and then that seat to the door, Dave, isn't it? So it's a natural progression.
It is, yeah. I'll be out of there.
Natural progression. Got loads to talk about. International football's happening through the week. We've got two massive games this week, as every Boro fan knows. Been quite stressful, Dave, hasn't it? Being a Middlesbrough fan with no game over the international break, but two big games this week.
Two big games, and it's good to see them come back, because we've been doing the breakfast show on the Red for the past 10 days, and it's all England, it's all whatever stories you can pull out of the ether. Now it's good because we can focus on the Boro, we can focus on trip to Blackburn, which can be really tricky, and then the Sheffield Wednesday, which is not going to be easy.
Just touching on that though, Dave, on the England stuff and international stuff, obviously Scotland, England. Is it a nice welcome break for a fan to take the pressure off, especially when things aren't going great?
Do you know what? I've never subscribed to it's a good time or a bad time to have an international break. You know, you can be in a good run of form and everybody goes, oh, what a bad time for it to come. You can be in a bad run of form. But this time I'm thinking we're in such a bad run of form, it gives us 10 days to go.
Yeah.
I hate using the word because Carrick's used it. Reset, start again. I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that it does work for us.
I just heard him on the radio there about being calm and composed, and I think, you know what I mean, you don't get any calmer person than Michael himself.
Yep.
So that's the positive, the good news. You know what I mean? I'm hoping the last 10 days we've been able to instill patterns of play with new players, getting people up to speed fitness-wise, and hoping everyone come Saturday 3 o'clock that everyone's up to speed, ready to go again, because it's a huge week. You know what I mean? We can't brush over and paper over the cracks. You know what I mean? We've got to understand that this week is a huge week, and to be fair, it couldn't really be two harder games. But then you can look at the swing of it. There's two massive games against Premier League winners in the past. You know what I mean? Teams who've been in the Premier League not so long ago, same as us, long time ago, yeah. But we're a big club as well. So we're going to be two massive games with two big crowds and expectations from both sets of supporters for both games as well. So it's going to be really intriguing.
Is it going to be different types of expectation though? I mean, the Boro fans are going into the Let's focus on the Blackburn game.
Yeah.
The Boro fans are going in there, fingers crossed, toes crossed, everything crossed, eyes crossed, just thinking, can we break this horrible run?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of expectation to lose the game.
Yeah.
I'm one, sadly, and I've never been one really to back against the Boro, but I'd be happy with the draw. Give me 0-0 now. We don't even have to play the game. I'll sign on the dotted line and I'll accept 0-0. Yeah. But the Blackburn fans are going to go into that game thinking bottom of the table, 1 point in 5. Yeah. Leaked 11. We can stuff them.
Yeah, totally agree.
Different levels of expectation.
Yeah, and I think in the past we haven't got a great record down at Ewood Park. No. You know, I think there's a big history from the game that we didn't play back in the day in the 90s, and some of the previous games that we've had which haven't been great in terms of us. And I agree. I think if someone offered me a clean sheet now, I would take it, because a clean sheet will get you at least a point, if not a little bit better. But they'll see it a game as we're leaking goals. They can score goals, but they're coming off the back of a 3-0 defeat at Plymouth last time around, which is a poor result in terms of where they are in the stature of where they were last season, where they are now, and the team has just come up. So, you know what I mean? It could be a classic, or it could be an absolutely dire game for whoever's watching it. You know, so it could be a disaster.
Just like Sean Dyche is still bitter over the Sheffield, the Hillsborough semi-final. I think Blackburn are still bitter about the wasted pies for that game when we didn't show up. But
yeah, I think they are,
and I think the bitterness has continued since then. Look, I've got no expectations on Saturday. Yeah. It's sad to admit it, because I've just looked at the way we've played, and particularly the game against QPR. Yeah. That is the worst Boro performance I've seen in a long time. So I am one who's massively got everything crossed to think, okay, the lads who are on international duty haven't been here. Yeah. But the lads, but that's not the majority of our squad. Yeah. So Carrick's had chance to get him on the training ground. He's had chance to bed in the new players. 12 signings it's a big change, isn't it? It's a big overhaul.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Irrespective of whether they're loan signings who came in last minute or whether they're permanent signings, it's new players, a new style. Everybody's got to get to know each other, and I'm just keeping everything crossed that. This
I think
break has given us that
there
time.
can't be an excuse now. You know what I mean? I think with the excuses that we've had, players signing after the season started and players not being fit enough, and we had a couple of injuries. I think now is time to do our talking on the pitch and leave the excuses in on the pitch side, and we've got to get results. You know what I mean? It's a results business. It's time to climb up the league table a little bit and have a little bit of respectability and get the fans back on side, you know, because there's a lot of negativity about the chairman, the chief executive, the manager.
Even the manager, yeah.
You know, they're getting pelters from left, right and centre. And luckily enough, I think at the minute, I'm not hearing many negatives about the players, which is nice, you know, but I think sometimes players have got to take responsibility, you know what I mean? The manager sometimes likes to take the brunt of it because it's his team, his responsibility, and the chairman obviously fronts things up himself as well, which is pleasing to see. But at the same time, players play the game. So when they go over that white line, players play the game, and it's their responsibility to put the shift in. And you know, like you say, Saturday against QPR was dire. It was poor. It was lethargic. It was a non-starter really in terms of the expectations and the standards that we've set over the last 12 months.
And that's my concern. We haven't even looked like emulating the types of performances we put in last year for a big part of the season, for the last 2/3 of the season.
I think I was confused, Dave, about the way that we play, the style of play that we were last season. We were front foot football, looking forward, keeping the ball. Now it's a lot of start again at the back, and we slow things down, let teams regroup, reset, and get behind the ball. And it kills us a little bit because the way that we want it to play, or hope that we want to play, is front foot football, getting the balls into good areas, playing in between lines, and getting people in the 10, and getting people driving at people, putting balls in the box. I'm not seeing anything of the way that we played last year.
Yeah.
And hopefully that can change. Personnel, yes, they play different ways, and we've got different players in different areas, but the philosophy still is the same, and the manager's philosophy I don't think's changed. I think he likes a possession-based football, and hopefully we can start getting back to, because it's not going to happen overnight, by the way. You know what I mean? If we get a decent result Saturday, which I hope we do, we can't get overexcited because then we've got a game 2 days later. It's against another tough side, but we've just got to baby steps, and hopefully things can turn around very quickly.
And that's the important thing to bear in mind. You know, one win's not going to correct everything.
No.
One win might not even see us get out of the bottom 3. No. If we beat Blackburn, you know, we've got to rely on it being a decent victory and other results being decent as well for us to crawl out the bottom 3. And I think it's something that's shared by a lot of people. One quick question from Stu Gawley: are you desperate? He's talking about me sitting on the couch.
I'm desperate having Dave on. We got let down by a few people. So Dave was our backup.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I'll have been a sub. Mo Ibra, hello guys, tough game. It's not easy for us, never has been at Blackburn. Got to win or the fans will turn toxic. Everything's not wasted though, don't forget. A few wins and here comes the playoffs. Love the positivity, Mo, really do. Apparently, according to Mo, Carrick held a meeting with Steve Gibson and got a vote of confidence by him that things can turn around. I hope he didn't.
So do I, because it's never the vote of confidence never ends well.
No, it doesn't.
You know what I mean? Because if those conversations are starting to happen, then the manager starts to potentially make rash decisions. He picks a different team. His philosophy will change. The way he plays will be a little bit more negative. Michael seems to have a lot of freedom. Michael seems to let his players play with a lot of freedom, and that needs to continue because players can't worry about results, worry about victories, defeats. Last year they didn't look like they were worried and concerned. If they let a goal in, we're going to score 2, 3, and that was the way that we looked and played. This year, we need to stop letting that first goal in. Can we not let a goal in for the first instance, or can we get the first goal? Things will look a lot differently. You know what I mean? I think the fans will respond to it. The players will obviously respond to it. The manager and the sideline and the coaches will respond differently to it. So I'm not confident. I'm not quietly confident. I am worried, but at the same time, I'm a Middlesbrough fan, so we've been here before. I'm sure we'll be here again. And but I've got every faith in the manager to turn things around. I just think that players need to take responsibility a little bit for me. That's where my remit's at. As an ex-player, I've had managers who've lost their jobs because us as players haven't played as well as we should have done, and we've saved managers' jobs when we've decided and as a group to put the shift in and play for the club and play for the badge and play for the fans. And I think the players need to start doing that for sooner rather than later.
A bit of hope that I'm clinging to. I was talking to a journal friend today, and he was saying, you know, he's got contacts within the club, and what he's being told at the moment is nobody's panicking.
Yeah.
Nobody's concerned to a great extent. They're not happy at the run, but they're not at a point of being concerned. And concern will be the point where you're thinking, where's the next win going to come from? hell, we're trying all sorts of things, it's just not working, what do we do next? So there's none of that going on behind the scenes, is what we're being led to believe, which is a good sign. So
of course,
I'm sure it is Carrick thinking. Huge changes, terrible start to the season, but he is fully expecting things to click very soon.
He is, yeah, and I heard an interview for him, and he was stating how many games he thinks that we should have won out of the games that we haven't won this season, and it's refreshing to hear. It's nice and positive. He's saying all the right things, but at the end of the day, we haven't won those games. We need to win the next games, and we need to make sure that we turn defeats into points into wins, draws into wins. We need to get there very quickly, and a week can change things in football very quickly, as we all know. And if we can get 2 positive results this week, things will look a lot differently. If we don't, then it can go the other way very quickly as well. And we've all been here before Michael came into the club that Chrissy Wilder lost his job, and other managers previously have lost jobs from having better starts than we've had this season as well. You know, so we've had listen, nothing would surprise me in football, but I am hoping for a positive week. But I'm not 100% confident that we'll turn around.
I think we'll get points this week.
Yeah,
I do think we'll get points this week. We'll go into it later where they're going to come from, but I do think this is a week where we'll get points. A couple of comments. Ian, he's our Darlow fan, saying he's having a good week and points out Alan Armstrong got sacked by Darlow, of course, last week, which was sad to see. I like Alan.
Yeah, so do I.
Ibra is not Zlatan, but Ibrahim Tanner said Carrick isn't the problem. It's a whole new team that does need time. The players need to step up for themselves. That's Stu. I'm just trying to look further down here. More again, I knew that it's the above level that needs to be blamed. Long-term project. No project. Never has been at this club. Don't understand that one more. Sorry, mate. But get your comments in. But I think go back to QPR. The boos were there in the stadium.
Yeah.
Now you've been an ex-player. What message will that send to the players as they were walking off?
It depends what kind of player you are. If you are the type of player who takes that personal and wants to turn things around, you know, for me I've been there when we've heard the boos at Middlesbrough, and you're a young local player. You take things to heart. You're upset. It hurts. You can't wait to go back to the training ground to turn things around. But even when I left the club to go to different clubs, and you hear this different boos by different fans, and it's got to hurt. And if it doesn't hurt, then that's be the concerning thing. I hope that every single boo from the crowd against QPR would hurt every single player, because it's aimed at everybody. It's not aimed at one individual. It's not aimed at the chairman, the CEO, the manager. It's aimed at the collective, everybody who's pushing in that direction.
We're not happy.
It's a message from the fans that they're not happy. Listen, it is early doors, but people pay a lot of money, hard-earned money, to watch what we watched at the weekend, like 2 weekends ago, and it wasn't great. And that was a worrying thing for me. It was the worst performance I've seen from a long time in Middlesbrough shirt from a lot of players, and it looked as though we didn't have any identity, we didn't have a philosophy, we were pedestrian, we didn't look fit enough, and for so many games in, it had more concerns than it was just a defeat, because you take the goals out of it and you take parts out of it. The first goal was a worldie, but it was the more alarming how we weren't doing the right things. You know, I mean, forget about what QPR did and didn't do. You know, I mean, they weren't great as compared to how bad we were, but they got the goals at the right time, but we just didn't look like we were going to score. It didn't look like we were doing the right thing. It didn't look like we were going to keep a clean sheet, and it was really concerning. And the quicker we can shore things up and be more solid as a group, defend from the front, attack from the back, and start things properly, and start with a bit of pace and a bit of tempo, and dictate games again. We need to do that sooner rather than later, though, because we can't say we'll do it Wednesday, we'll do it the following Saturday, because unfortunately the boos will get louder, and will people respond, as in the people higher up in the club, will they respond to those kind of noises? Because, you know what I mean, the pressure gets to people in different ways, and people make decisions out of frustration sometimes, and managers can do it, players can do it, fans can do it, and so can chairman as well.
Rob's on. Good show, lads. Are you worried as a fan, or do you think this is just a bad run of form that will be forgotten about by Christmas?
Well, you look at, I know we spoke to McCarthy at the start about the chances we've missed this season. You know, that Blackburn playing Blackburn, and Blackburn have missed the most big chances this season, but we've missed the second most. You know, so if you pick the bones out of it and you look at the chances created, we've created and missed some big chances this season. So if you put those chances into points, into goals, then we wouldn't be where we are. But unfortunately, those chances need to be finished off. You know what I mean? They need to continue to be created, but we've got to finish them off. You know, because would Akpom have scored those kind of chances potentially? You know what I mean? But you've got to give those players a chance. I believe Latte Lath will score lots of goals. You know what I mean? Greenwood will have had a good 10 days training with the players. He'll get to know players, and hopefully we can find those combinations and different ways of playing and getting players playing with the confidence and with the togetherness that we can create those chances again, but hopefully put them away, because one goal can change the season, one win can change the season, but those chances mean nothing unless we're going to score the goals. Unfortunately. So for me, it's a great start, but you know what I mean, by the stats there, the game on Saturday is going to be 0-0. The game's going to be a 0-0, or it's going to be 5-5. You know what I mean? Because if those chances, if the both teams continue to create chances, the game on at the weekend should be a really good game. And if it is a low-scoring game and the chances are created, it'll be a decent spectacle for a supporter to watch as well. So it looks intriguing on paper, but I think on paper, we're all a little bit worried that the potential outcome, and I'm sure Blackburn fans who were watching hopefully this show are doing their own kind of thing, that they might be saying the same thing as well.
Mind you, I'd rather steal a 1-0 win.
So would I.
Play badly, steal a 1-0
So
win,
would I.
and come away than lose 4-3.
Yeah, so would I. But Dave, we obviously we went on the QPR game. We talked about potential goals and goals against, and you know what I mean, that we've scored 3 goals this season. You looked at the chances we missed there. Our expected goals is 7.3 goals, so we're down massively on that. Last season we were massively over because we got somebody who could score a bag full of goals. We created a lot more chances. We had good delivery from wide. We had players who were creating from deep, from dangerous areas in midfield. 11 goals conceded, which by any teams is awful at this stage of the season. You know, I know we've got a new goalkeeper, but predominantly we've got a similar back four. So you know what I mean, is the protection not coming from somewhere else? Is it just not happening together? Something's not right? Something's missing, and the quicker we can hopefully work on these things. Listen, we've got the best coaches. Danks is a good coach. Jonathan Woodgate, ex-England international centre half. So we're in good hands. We just need to make sure that these things are tweaked and worked on very quickly, because we can't afford 11 to turn into 13 on Saturday night, 13 to turn into 15 by Wednesday night. You know, and you know what I mean. Yes, I'd take a 3-2 win at the weekend, but we also need to make sure that one goal sometimes is going to be enough, because there's going to be games that we only score one, or we don't score any, and we can't afford those to be defeats or heavy defeats and confidence to turn into something worse, because the stat on the screen there is not a good read at all, and goal difference to be currently is -8, and it should be plus 2.6 expected. So it's a little bit worrying for the teams that we've played and the start we've had, but it would be Middlesbrough all over to see the two games as a positive, you know, as a players and as fans. But listen, we're not getting excited, we're not getting carried away. We just need to make sure we take one game at a time, let the managers do in, and probably talking about in the press at the minute, which I think needs to happen.
Can't disagree, really can't. It does concern me the amount of goals we're shipping, but we shipped goals last year. The difference between last year and this year is we had a front line, we had firepower up front that we could concede after 4 minutes, 2 minutes, but not be concerned, because you know you're going to score 3 at the other end by the end of the game. So that is the difference between us. It is, from last season to this season. Need to tighten up at the back, absolutely. Need to get the forward line firing.
Yeah, totally agree. And I know I've spoke previously about bringing the Karanka style of defending back. You know, I think you know what I mean. Listen, it wasn't great. It wasn't great to watch. It wasn't nice trying to create one chance and hope we're going to score one goal. But we looked solid as a group. At the minute, we look all over the place. We don't look like we're going to score goals. We look like we're going to let a goal in every time that the team attacks us, because we're leaving gaps, we're leaving massive areas for teams to dictate against us, and I'm hoping that those things are being able to get executed in this 10-day period, because this is what this was for. For me, I was quite pleased that the international break came. and it'll give the players,
For once I was.
yeah, to give the players something to work on and something to probably regroup and refresh and just take a breath, because the season's been full on since they came back. You know, there was the disappointment from the Coventry playoff semi-final, because look at the start that they've made. They've made a great start. The hangover is obviously from the playoffs, you know what I mean, because they've had a hangover, we've had a hangover, and teams who've probably not got in the playoffs have been able to have that continuation and progress through, where that we've just not had that, and we've had to fill in gaps as well. So it was always going to be a tough start, but I don't think anybody anticipated how tough and how brutal that the start was going to be.
It's 11 on the bounce now without a win in all league competition. That includes the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how much you can read into what happened at the end of last season, because you've had a summer in between and a rebuild. So it probably doesn't play on the mind as much. I'm not sure. But yeah, to have the 1 point in 5, concerning, needs to be addressed, but needs to be addressed quickly, because we're now 12 points adrift of where we were expecting to be. You know, that could very quickly creep up to 18, 20 points, and then is there any catch-up?
No. Listen, I totally agree. I think we can't afford to get any further behind. We can't afford to chase some big sides who are gonna go on a purple patch who'll win 3, 4, 5 in the bounce. You know what I mean? We can't afford to be that far behind some of the bigger sides and some surprising sides, the Ipswich Towns of this world, who, you know what I mean, have coming up with a bit of confidence. You know what I mean? We've got some big games coming up. We've obviously got the local derby at Sunderland, not too far away as well, which doesn't normally fill us full of confidence. You know, so going into that game away from home, so we need to make sure that by the time that we're going into those kind of huge games, that we've got some points on the board, that we can potentially drop points, because there's going to be times that we drop points in big games, big weeks and big moments of the season, and what we can't afford to do is be still playing catch up. You know, that the last season we got in the playoffs, we were chasing Sheffield United down, but because we had a poor start of the season, it affected where we finished. You know, that what I don't want to do is potentially have the same thing again, that we're trying and focusing and getting in an area that we can't get to, because we've had such a poor start, and we can't afford to start this poorly week in, week out, season after season. You know, at the beginning, we need to make sure that we give ourselves the best possible chance at the start, because your season can be dictated to by the start, and I think it is at the minute, and we can't afford that to be a continuation.
There's a question coming from Rob, and I like the question. I know you're going to go into your 11 lineup for the game against Blackburn later, but what Rob's asking is 2 things. Do you think Carrick's job is at risk yet? And if you were in charge against Blackburn, would you make big changes? I think you've answered the risk one. You know he is.
To answer it, I think no manager is fireproof nowadays. In 2023, you know, you can lose 1 or 2 games on the bounce, and you know, but I'd like to think he wasn't, because of what he's done before, and he's got a brand new team. But every manager's under pressure, especially with the way that the fans reacted against QPR. So I think it's a big week for him personally. I think it'll be intriguing to see how the week pans out. But Saturday first, he's got to go on it. Big changes. I think he's got to bring his new signings in. I certainly think personally, and I'm going to go through mine later on, I think definitely Lewis O'Brien and Sam Greenwood, if not more other options. But he's got to freshen things up. For me, against QPR, he gave players one last opportunity to show that they were good enough to play week in, week out, and then he would filter in and drip the new players in. But because of the way the game went, they didn't play well enough, so he had to bring changes during the game. For me, he's got to do it now. He's got to press that button. It's not a panic button. He's brought the players in for a reason. He brought them in to play. You know what I mean? The players haven't come from Nottingham Forest and Leeds United, respectively, not to play football. They've come up for a loan to play. You know what I mean? Every time that I went on loan to a club, you go to play games. You don't come just to look pretty and sit on the bench, because you can do that at your parent club. You know, so I think they've come here to play. They've come to make a difference. They've come to put their careers back on track. They've got a point to prove. And as a supporter, as fans, and as a club, that we need that response. We need a positive response, and hopefully then the positive response will filter through the rest of the group, and players will respond respectively, and hopefully it'll go like Wi-Fi, and we get better performances and better levels, because the levels got to improve. We spoke about the QPR levels. You know what I mean? For me, the opponents are better that we're going to be playing against over the next 3, 4, 5 games. So we need to make sure that the changes will come in, which I think there will be some, are positive ones, and the positive ones are supported by the supporters, which I know there will be. The fans will turn up to Blackburn in the droves like they always do, and the support and just the positivity, I think hopefully will get us a positive result. If that's a draw, great. If it's anything better, then I think every Middlesbrough fan will be ecstatic.
Yeah. Can't disagree, mate. Why are you in the big seat?
Yeah. I'd like to Dave, I'd like to speak about, Kofi, we talked about current players before we move on to a little bit of fun towards the end, before we look at the games. Obviously we had England duty, didn't we, the weekend? Yeah. So through the week, one of our own, Hayden Hackney, made his England under-21 debut.
Brilliant to see.
You know what I mean? There's no prouder person as a fan. I was lucky enough to represent my country. Under-21 level, my debut was at the Riverside for my country, which made it even better, made it even more special for my family. It was great. But to watch the game that I did at the weekend with two local boys, obviously one a Middlesbrough, current Middlesbrough player, and one Nathan Gordon Wood, whichever you want to call him, also plays well, was even nicer to see, you know. So how special is it for local boys, Dave, fans to see our own, one of our own, two of our own really, to make their debuts and play regular for the country?
I think the fans own it. I think they want to see it. They want to experience it as a fan, watching, you know, one of their heroes, whether it's young or old, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, whether it was Gary Pallister getting his chance way back. Sorry, Pally, I didn't mean to say you were really old, but you know, when he got his chance to pull the full England shirt on, it's like, there's Pally. Yeah. He's our player. Yeah. I
don't think it matters, Dave, does it, who they play for? No, you know, and I think when they've been brought up through the system, and when they've wore that red shirt with pride, and they still live in the area, or the bleed red.
From fans I know who are mates saying we should never let Nathan Wood go. Yeah. You know, look at him now talking about the big money move.
£12 million move to Southampton on deadline day was touted around, and he's at the right club for his own development. You know what I mean? The way that Swansea play. I mean, I know probably every Swansea fan would want them to play and get results, but the way that they play and they play out from the back, it's really pleasing to see. But it mirrors probably the way that England play. You know what I mean? Playing out from the back, and he's confident. He's a confident young boy. He's got great attributes, but it's so pleasing to see the talent which we've got in the northeast. You know, I think sometimes it's not utilised as much as it could be and should be. We have seen patches of players coming through, and it's lovely to see. But you know, for someone to make the debut for the country under 21 level in a competitive game, and to get 84-85 minutes in a 3-0 victory was really pleasing. And
he did so badly, didn't he?
No, he did great. You know, it was nice to watch. I was pleased. I was hoping that he, you know what I mean, potentially could have got forward a little bit more. But when you've got some of the players who are on there, you know what I mean, the Liverpool players, and you know what I mean, and Premier League players, regular Premier League players, you know, that's where he wants to be. You know, and I know that's his ambition and his drive, and I know that he'd rather do it in a red shirt, but players have got ambitions to play at the top level, and this is just another step on Hayden's journey. And hopefully there's plenty more opportunities to come, because you look at all the players who won the World Cup in the summer. You know, this is a new group, a new setup, and hopefully he can be part of this to get to the Euros, and then they can be as successful as they need, because, listen, he's playing regular football at a really competitive level, and excelling in the midfield area, which is the hardest place to play in the Championship, you know. So if he can keep on doing it and keep on showing how good he is week in, week out, then those opportunities will come. And if he keeps on doing it, those opportunities, then the world's his oyster, really.
Well, his career acceleration in the last 18 months has been amazing,
silly.
Isn't it? From not even being a first-team regular through to getting his place, cementing it, and now pulling on the under-21 international jersey.
You know what I mean? To see he had a loan move at Scunthorpe United, I believe. You know what I mean?
Down Scotland.
Yeah, which is nice, nice in itself, isn't it? Yeah. So he's made a positive, but to be a local boy, to have a loan move. We talk about loan moves. You know what I mean? He went there for his football development, and he's learned his identity at a lower league club, and now he's getting the fruits of his rewards in the Championship, and to play for his country. He's probably tapped it off, and hopefully there's more to come.
I'm just looking at those stats that are on our screen. Which for you, looking at Hackney as a midfielder, are the most important from his perspective?
I like the passes, you know, 94 out of 99 passes complete, you know what I mean? So that means he's not giving the ball away, you know what I mean? He's looking forward, he's passing forward, 100% dribble, you know what I mean? Which is great, you know. I like that if he sees a space, he goes and attacks it. He does that in the red shirt, you know what I mean? So this isn't just he's done it for England. He's doing this regular, you know what I mean? He's keeping the ball. He's been selective where he passes, when he passes. You know, I think we're all driven by stats and data now, especially football. He's driven and governed by stats and data. So he'll be quite impressed and quite pleased with those stats. He'll obviously want them better and improving. He'll obviously want his assists and his chances created and his goals. But I think sometimes you can't be too critical of your own and of someone else's. And those stats and that data for me are phenomenal. For a debut as well, which he'll have been nervous, you know what I mean? and take the opponents out of it. You know what I mean? He's an England player. He's playing with some excellent players. So he'll be absolutely ecstatic, and he'll bounce into training this week when he came back, and hopefully he can take that into this week as well, and people can bounce off how good he's done.
Yeah,
which would be great.
A couple of messages coming in. David Rogers, hi Andy, hope you're well. That's my cousin's son. I think he's talking about Hackney. He looks a hell of a prospect. We need kids because we haven't done a great job in the transfer market over the years. So talking about developing your own, which the Boro always have done, haven't they?
I think they have. I think we probably hit a block at the minute. Probably over the last couple of seasons where we probably only bringing 1 or 2 through and giving the odd person, the odd young player a chance. I remember, you're probably going back a few years, we played Fulham away, didn't we? We had a full squad of local homegrown players,
11
which
was
fantastic. You know, that
the only time in the Premier League that's ever happened.
You know, I mean, that speaks for itself. You know, we've had some real talent come through the area. I know there's loads coming through. It's just, is this the right time to put them in the side? You know, there's pressure, and do young players thrive off the pressure? Some will, some won't. So for me, experience is key at this moment in time. It's and the manager will play as tried and tested. You know, you look at the biggest managers. You look at Gareth Southgate, England manager, picking tried and tested players instead of bringing young players through against Scotland. You know, he brings Harry Maguire on instead of bringing on younger players. You know, that it happens at the top level. So, you know, I mean, for me, I'm not surprised that younger players aren't given an opportunity yet, but they will get the chance. If they're good enough, they'll play. It doesn't matter, age is just a number. It's irrelevant. You know what I mean? Michael was given opportunities as a young player at West Ham.
Yeah.
So he'll be keen to give players a chance if he sees fit, and if he thinks they're good enough, he'll be giving them an opportunity.
It's funny you talk about Michael as a player. We had on the breakfast show yesterday, the North East Footy Brekkie show, just to give it. And Rye, the daft Australian Boro fan.
Yeah, he's mad as a box of frogs, isn't he? He's class.
But we talked to a Man U fan who was based in Newcastle. He's got the strongest Geordie accent I've ever heard. But he's a Man U fan. And we were just asking him about Man U, and he straight away wanted to talk about Carrick and how much love the United fans have for Carrick.
Yeah.
And it was funny. He was telling us about a song they had for him, which is "They Can't Believe It's Not Paul Scholes, It's Michael Carrick." And he started singing this thing. But I mean, that's how highly the United fans still hold Carrick.
Yeah, and I think players do as well. And I think you listen to Sir Alex and some of his interviews, and he gives his opinion on how important certain players were. You know what I mean? And you're thinking, he's going to come out with Ruud van Nistelrooy's and Paul Scholes' and the David Beckham's, but he doesn't. He's always quite humble. You know what I mean? He talks about the Nicky Butts. He talks about the Michael Carricks, the Phil Nevilles, the players who we can rely on when the chips are down. When he needs his players to real step up. You know what I mean? The Michaels and the Nicky Butts, they all did it. You know what I mean? They all did it when they needed to do it, and they weren't world beaters. They weren't as good as the Beckhams, as the Scholes, and of this world. But he can rely on them, and I think that's what we can do with Michael. We can rely on him. We can rely on him to be calm and cool and collective as he is, or he comes across. And if he can instill that into the players, that they can go into the weekend calm, confident, and hopefully composed to go and get a result, and hopefully, like we say, we can turn this around.
Yeah. Fingers across.
Fingers across.
Fingers are crossed.
Fingers across. Whilst we're going on about all players and different eras, I thought we could have a little bit of fun, Dave, with a few people, with the viewers, and talk about if you could sign any 1 player, 3 players from your era, from watching players who you watched at Essen Park from the Riverside, and which of your favourite players would you bring back? You know what I mean? Who would you sign?
If you could magically bring them,
who would you sign?
The quality of player they were then.
Yeah.
Because some of these guys won't be able to move now, and drop them into the team.
Drop them into the team now. Yeah. Who would you sign? You know that I spoke to Kofi this afternoon, and I told him about 3 players that were my absolute heroes. You know that I went to Essen Park, and Bernie was my hero. Standing in the whole gate, watching him stand there scoring goals, it was a dream. I always wanted to emulate that. I was in awe of him. And then obviously to meet him and picking his brains once he was working on Boro TV and things with Ali Brownlee, and it was a real insight of where I wanted to get as a footballer, and obviously didn't get the opportunity to play at Essen Park because of the beautiful stadium we've got now.
Because you're a youngster,
Yeah, because we built a state-of-the-art football stadium for us to go and play and go to another level, which is great. But those times as a Boro fan, to see him and John Hendry, you know what I mean? I had pace. I didn't have the ability that John had, but I used to glide past players. John used to just do it with ease. I remember the goal he scored against Millwall.
Where he just kept running.
When he got the ball in his own area, he kept going. He stumblling. He got over the line just and he finished at the Holgate. And if I'd just got a goal like that, I don't think I'd have been able to stop my emotion. But he just took it in his stride. He talks about it now like it was a tap in, and you know, and he's the most humble man, and to have these kind of people as your heroes, and then being able to speak to them about these kind of moments of that, you know what I mean, that it's just surreal. And
Bernie just used to pick up scraps better than anybody.
He did, yeah. You talk about the pucks. You talk about the pucks in the box, and you talk about the stat that we've shown there about 11 chances, and you know what I mean, that we've missed big moments.
How many has he scored? I don't remember him scoring outside the penalty area.
No, he used to but he didn't used to panic. He used to always be quite calm and composed in the box. He didn't lash at things. He used to toe poke a lot. He used to use the outside of his foot a lot. He didn't have the pace that people had, and people, you know what I mean, people who took his place and people who've got now. But he used to be that player that would always be the threat to score goals, which was so pleasing. And then obviously the other player on the screen is the little magician who we got from Brazil and Sao Paulo, who, you know what I mean, that he was one for me. He was my hero when he came in. I idolised him as a teammate. I was in awe of him as a young player when he made his debut against Leeds United. His first touch, I think, when he cut inside from the left hand side and just slipped Jan through, and Jan did the rest. And I just knew from that moment that he was something special. You know, that I know he played for Brazil and he'd won the World Cup, and there was high expectation from it from an outside and from a journalist point of view. But I think as a player, when you see the things he used to do in training, when you used to see the things that he did in games against players who were double, if not triple his stature, I remember
watching with my own eyes. He took Julian Dix out.
Blown away. Yeah. He used to blow me away. When Philip Albert, when he's looking up to him, and the infamous picture, he wasn't scared of. He wasn't intimidated by. He was a genuine footballer who cared. He put the maximum effort in, and I hate the word world-class footballer because it gets branded about now, you know what I mean, because of the Champions League and things, but Juninho could have been picked out the middle of the team and popped into any top side in the world, Barcelona, Man United, Real Madrid, and he would have been world-class because he was that good. And for us to have him and us to be able to have those moments that we shared with him, it blows you away, really.
And the year he didn't win, when he was up for the PFA Players Player of the Year award, or was it the Football Writers? I can't remember. They went for Gianfranco Zola. Yeah, Zola only got it because he was playing for Chelsea.
Yeah.
Juninho was a far better player.
Yeah, totally.
Had far more impact that season in the Premier League than Zola did. Yeah. But he was playing for Middlesbrough, an unfashionable club from the North East, and that was the.
I think because Gianfranco that year they won trophies and they were more successful than Middlesbrough were. You know what I mean? I think that was probably the factor which turned it. You know what I mean? Look at the data. We talk about data. Data wasn't as relevant then than it is now. Juninho's data, his stats, the goals that he scored, the important goals that he scored, the chances he created for people, the assists that he had were absolutely phenomenal. You know what I mean? I'd love supporters to tell us who their heroes were, who they would love to drop back into the team, and the reasons why. It'd be great.
Got a couple. David Campbell.
David Campbell, yeah.
Any relation?
If it's David Campbell who used to play for Whitby Town, it'd be. I used to play.
Who loves Andy Townsend because he keeps saying Andy Townsend.
No, does he?
He'd like Andy Townsend to be back. And he offers a bit more. We're crying out for a George Boateng and Andy Townsend type of player. Our defence is so exposed. Teams getting in between the lines constantly. Sounds like easy football. It's
interesting, Dave, don't it? That they talk about, you know what I mean, normally that supporters would look at the top end. You know, who's going to score those 30 goals? Who's going to do this? But to have supporters looking for that protection, because I agree. I think there's something missing currently, and if that's someone to protect, if it's not a defender, if it's not a goalkeeper, if it's someone to be to have that protection and sitting from the back four. George did a great job, and Andy was Andy. Andy did it at Villa. He did it for Ireland. He did it for Middlesbrough. And got us over the line in a huge season to get us back to the Premier League, and then continued it through. And someone who could lead, who could talk, who could be calm and composed in big moments of games, and have that bite and quality still. You know, that who could drag us into the games was phenomenal, really.
A couple of comments coming in. Stu Gawley, John Higton, Ibrahim Tanner, Rippers, Slaven and Pally. Rob says Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank, he was a legend. He tried to slip that one in thinking we might not spot it. Somebody called Kofi says Rudy Gusted. Love it. Just on the subject of letting talent go, David Rogers, we let Morrison, Brunt, Catamol, Danny Graham, Andy Taylor, Jason Steele, Nathan Wood, go for peanuts. Replace them with worse players. When will we learn our lesson? What else we got going on here? Mogga, Juninho for entirely different reasons. This is Jeremy Angus. Both are absolute quality. Stu's really, he's going back to my era, Stu. He worries me. He just reminds me that I'm old because he says Terry Cochran. TC was great. TC and the chicken run at Essen Park. You won't remember it, but no, TC and the chicken run. I've seen
videos of Terry, and I've been lucky enough that I've done some coaching with Terry. Terry's coached me as a young player, and my dad showed me some of the videos and some of the goals he scored. One of the goals in particular, I think it was against Swansea City away, I think, and he
was that the 5-0?
Yeah, it was just phenomenal. Yeah. And some of the things that Terry could do with the ball, the way that he used to glide past players, it was just phenomenal. You know, we've been blessed for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in my dad's era, which he drummed on about for me for years, and John Higton and Terry especially. It was just, you know, especially the way that he wanted probably me to progress. You know, he wanted me to take players on. He wanted me to emulate his kind of heroes, but we all little swing. Because listen, there's no two footballers the same. There's no way that the players can copy each other's way of playing. But no, Terry was unique. On and off the pitch as well, Terry was a nutter on the pitch, but he was probably a bigger character off it as well.
And he doesn't mind telling you. Even if he gets it wrong every now and again, TC.
Now and again.
I remember our last conversation, but it wasn't me, promise. David Campbell, Southgate, Boateng, Viduka, Juninho, my favourite ever player. But those three are what we lack in the current team. He's talking Southgate, Boateng, and Viduka. Stu Gawley. Thanks, Stu. See, I come as a guest and I still get abused.
No.
I blame you.
Yeah.
He says, me and you are from the same museum, Dave. So there you go. So yeah, some great players there.
It's interesting though, Dave, that people talk about spine of teams. You know, that it was it Pally Rippers and Bernie. You know, that you're talking spine of teams. So if you can add those kind of players who cared as well. You know, that was there a better winger than Stuart Ripley? You know what I mean? You know, he went on to win the Premier League at Blackburn, and you know what I mean. And then you talk about. No one's even mentioned Stephen Pears, you know, the most underrated goalkeeper that Middlesbrough have ever had, who didn't. I don't know how he didn't get an England call up, or he didn't get an England cap.
He didn't get an England cap.
You know what I mean? Right. He got a call up, he didn't get a cap. I think he was in the squad a couple of times, and he played for the B team
as well. Just
whilst he was in the B team, I think. Yeah, so it was, one of the best goalkeepers that, if not we've ever seen. You know what I mean? Or him and probably Mark Schwarzer would be a close first, but Pears was unbelievable and a great person to go and try and emulate, you know, and obviously his lad follows his footsteps into football as well. So another player that we've let go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll go on the list that yes, it was disappointing to lose those kind of young players, but they were probably at stages of their career that they need to go and play regular games. You know, that we can only keep young players until they're not classed as young anymore. You know what I mean? That young players now can get to 22, 23 and still classed as young. I think when I was coming through and those guys, Danny Graham's are coming through, that they get to 18, 19 and they need to go and play first team football, and if they're not getting to here, 16, 17-year-olds are pushing them through and pushing them in as well. So it's really difficult one that we probably didn't get the prices that we should have done, because they went on to go and play in the Premier League for Watford and Swansea, etc. for certain players. Andy Taylor went on to play at good levels, you know what I mean? But unfortunately, you know, I mean, that we dictated to at the time when they want to go and play football, that if they're out of contract, we won't get no money for them. And if the transfer fees won't have been as big, because they won't have been as high profile as they were once they left our club.
Yeah. David Campbell's been back on, just to clarify. Hasn't played for Whitby, unfortunately.
No, it's a different
Stokesley.
Stokesley?
Yeah.
Still a good level.
Not bad.
That's where I retired.
Oh, here we go. Stu Gawley's coming back with the museum quotes.
It's like Jurassic Park, this, isn't it?
Do you know what? My favourite goalkeeper of all time for the Boro is Jim Platt. He was my hero. Because that's when I really cut my teeth on the Boro as a kid. And Stu Gawley's just mentioned Platty and just reminded us he used to play without gloves. So, dead right, Stu. Dead right, mate. Sorry, mate.
No. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? I think goalkeepers obviously get a lot more protection as well. You know what I mean? I think, was it
we're not that old that used to bundle them into the back of the net.
I don't know. I seen a clip years ago. It was a Man City goalkeeper who ended up he broke his neck or something, getting smashed by centre forwards.
Oh, God.
You know what I mean? So it's rife. Players get a lot of protection now.
Yeah.
On and off the pitch.
Yeah.
On and off the pitch. But no, thanks for everyone's comments. Everyone's thing. It's great.
Mind if I nick that?
Yeah, of course, no.
We'll nick it for the breakfast show tomorrow.
Yeah, of course, have it.
Okay.
Have it. It's a good one.
I like it.
Good one. Obviously, we've touched on, and we will give predictions for the Blackburn game.
Yeah.
I also want to look at midweek game because we go to Sheffield Wednesday on Tuesday, 8 p.m. kickoff. We've got a decent record at Hillsborough. Hillsborough's not a place that we go to and not look forward to going playing there. It's always a full house. It's always a good atmosphere. It's local for the Middlesbrough fans to go to. The Cop is a nice place to go and play at. I say, Sheffield Wednesday. It's got a good history, good heritage, but it'll be a tough game though, Dave, won't it?
It will. Second bottom against, as we stand right now.
Coming without the weekends, yeah.
But second bottom against bottom. So critical game.
Yeah.
I always like going to Hillsborough.
Yeah, so do
following the Boro.
Yeah, so do I.
It's been a lucky ground for us. I've seen some good positive performances at Hillsborough, and I'm just hoping that rubs off. In one breath, I'm saying you can't take into account 11 games without a win.
No.
You can't take into account what happened at the end of last season and bolt it onto the front end of this season. But here I am now saying, can we take into account the fact that it's a lucky ground? I've seen good results there, so I suppose I can't. It swings and roundabouts. I kind of best of both worlds. But I would fancy us at Hillsborough.
Yeah, it's the same as what we talk about, though, isn't it? You know what I mean?
But it depends what happens at Blackburn.
Yeah, totally agree. Because Darren Moore and his team will be looking at this game and thinking that that's the game that they can maybe reignite their season. You know what I mean? That it's an opportunity for them to show their supporters that they can beat a big club. They can kickstart their season. You know what I mean? They've got some interesting attacking options, good players. They've shipped a lot of goals in. Listen, league tables don't lie. You know what I mean? They're down there for a reason because they've lost a lot of football matches, the same as we are. But it could be a game that two teams are going into it full of confidence after the weekend. It could be a game that they're both going into with no confidence after the weekend. So it could be an even bigger game, depending on what happens at the weekend. And hopefully, regardless of what does happen Saturday, Saturday needs to look after itself in more ways than one. But that game is going to come around very quickly. And as an ex-player, regardless of what happens at the weekend, you then look at the next game. And instead of not having a game for 10 days like we've had now after the QPR game, that your games come thick and fast. And you've got Tuesday and you've got the following Saturday. So it's now a real good opportunity that we can pick up some big points in a short space of time, which for me is key. At this time of the season, with the way that we're talking and the way that the negativity is flying around, and rightly so, that we've got a chance now to pick some points up and some confidence up. And if that's 2-0 draws, it's positive. If that's 3 points, if that's more than 3 points, then whatever it may look and however it may look to next Thursday's show, I'm hoping that we're talking about a win at Sheffield Wednesday or something positive a Saturday, and we can start having a positive mindset and looking forward instead of looking at different avenues.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting one for me because I jet off to Asia on Tuesday. So I'm effectively going to walk off a plane not knowing what's happened. So I can't watch the game, but yeah, I'll be thinking about it when I'm on the plane. Defo.
Yeah, which is frustrating though, Dave, isn't it? Because you go on the plane thinking how you want the outcome to be.
Yeah.
But then you can't affect it like we all can't affect it as fans. If you're watching it, or you're at home listening to it, or you're watching Soccer Saturday, however you're watching the weekend's games, it's you can't affect the game, but you can still be nervous for that an hour and a half, 2 hour period. But when you're jumping off the plane and you've got the result hitting you,
as soon as that plane lands, I'll be.
There's nothing you can do about it after that. After the
but
event,
it's going to be 3 points. But I know we'll get into predictions.
I'd like to look at the team that Michael might play, the team that I think that I would like him to see play out the weekend. I think he will make changes. I think the goalkeeper for me he's done all right. I don't think he's as confident as playing out from the back as we have last year. So I think it's a different way that he might have to play. But as a goalkeeper wise, I think he's made some good saves in terms of commanding his box. I think he's done okay. So I think he'll continue to keep his place. My back four I've kept quite consistent and kept the same all season really. I think consistency's got to be the key. I know we're letting goals in, I know we've shipped, but for me I think defending doesn't just consist of the back five. I think we need that protection in the middle, and I think that's where Lewis O'Brien comes into it. I think he'll have that bite, he'll have that harrowing factor in his game. Hayden will come back full of confidence, hopefully from the England. I'd love to see Riley McGree in the team. I don't know what all Middlesbrough fans think. For me, he's been away for his country. He's got to be fit because he's played for his country. He's been away to the US to play for the Socceroos. He's played a full 90 minutes. So for me, he's got to be 100% fit. Latte Lath for me has got to continue to play. Rodgers has scored in the cup, and Michael seems to like him.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see Greenwood. I like the way that he played for Leeds. I've seen a little bit of him, not a lot, but I'd like to see a lot of him in the red shirt. I know he played against Salford in his last time out before he came to the Boro. But for me, we need to get that pace, we need to get that creativity, we need to get the chances created, but we also need the solid impact in the middle. And for me, Lewis O'Brien, Hayden Hackney and Riley McGree will give you so much fluidity, they would give you so much creativity, but they'll also give you a lot of bite as well. And I think that's key. It'll protect, it'll give people a lot more of a process in terms of protection and breaking between the lines, which I think we need as well, because we had that last year and we need to continue doing that this year.
I'm just going to cough, mate. I'm sorry. There you go.
Don't worry.
I'm surprised you've got Engel in there.
Yeah.
Not Bangura.
That was probably my only 50-50. I think I didn't want to make too many changes. I didn't want it to be an all-inclusive change. I think he's a relatively new player. Yes, he's had opportunities. Yes, he's made a couple of big mistakes in big games. But was a QPR game his last opportunity before he gets replaced? Potentially, I think there's a few players who've been in that boat. Will he get another one? Potentially, because with having 2 games in a short space of time, will the manager stick with one team and play the same team as a continuation against Sheffield Wednesday? Yeah. I think he does like to mix things up, Michael. He likes to make the odd change here and there. So,
what do you think's been going on with Riley McGree? Because there's so many people crying out for it. It looks an obvious one.
Yeah.
Because so many people are making comment on it.
Yeah.
Why hasn't McGree started? Because he does make a difference. He does create. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know concrete. I don't know the concrete answer to it. It personally, it looked as though there was something not right from the outside looking in. And then all of a sudden, now the transfer window's shut. I think we can now concentrate. And did he want to wear? Was there some kind of interest which was stopping him from wanting to play? Was he injured? We're hearing all these kind of stories, and for me, now we can just concentrate on Riley, putting that red shirt on, getting as many minutes as he can, progressing through, and hopefully just improving the way that we can play. He gives us so much, Dave, doesn't he? Gives us so much offensively and defensively. And the chances that he's created already in the short space of time that he played, especially in the cup games, and the goals that he scored, he needs to do it in the league. Listen, I think the cup will look after itself, which I want us to keep progressing through. But Saturday becomes a different animal, and we need our best players in. And for me, he's got to be the standout midfielder that we've got. He's the best player that we've got for me. He makes things happen. He scores goals. He's so calm and composed. He likes to have a bite and a tackle. He complements Hayden even more than Hayden complements anybody else. You know what I mean? So he's got that telepathic relationship together. So I think they complement each other really well. And if we can put a Lewis O'Brien with him as well, I'm excited for that midfield 3 quartet to hopefully start working together. But if he's not fit, he's not fit. He can't play. But if you're fit enough to go and play for your country, you're fit enough to start for your club, because club football is your bread and butter. We pay his wages. He should be playing for the club, and that's the manager's decision that he's not been playing. But we need him in the team sooner rather than later. And if he's fit, he plays. If he can only fit enough to play 55-60 minutes, then play 55-60 minutes. I'm not wanting him to play 90 if he can't physically do it. But we need him to play.
Johnny Howson, obviously not in there.
Yeah.
Is this the start of you seeing Johnny now moving away from being a first team regular?
I think so, and I think with the manager bringing in fresh new players in that area as well, I think it's got to be probably that kind of process. I think we're not in a luxury position where he's going to probably start more games. I think if he's an ideal player to see games out when we want to kill games, when we want another bite in there. And if that's 15-20 minutes here and there, I think he himself would be happy with that. To see games out when we're winning games. Yeah. I think people start questioning why he's not playing when we're losing games. You know what I mean? I think the remit was probably always to try and focus less on him playing and focus more on younger players and more on the energy. You know what I mean? We need more energy for me. Games are won by energy. And his energy levels, when you get older, unfortunately, they start dwindling a little bit, and he's still a fit person, still a fit footballer. But you know what I mean? For me, those 3 players are a bigger fit and a better fit, in my opinion, with Johnny coming on. You know what I mean? Love Johnny as a person, love Johnny as a player, but those 3 for me are a better fit.
Can't argue it.
And then the front 3 as well, Dave. You know that we've got other options. You know what I mean? People are crying out for Coburn to get an opportunity. You know, I'd love a young player. I'd love him to go and score and stay in the team, but he didn't do enough for me in the QPR game when he came on to earn that opportunity to start the next game. And I'm sure they'll have had in-house friendlies and in-house games over the last 10 days. Has he done enough to start? The only time will tell. You know, I think for me, Coburn would play better up with somebody, take the pressure off himself. You know, to lead the line on his own as a young player is difficult. I'd have hated it. I really would have. You know what I mean? To be that person who's taking all the hits for other players to get opportunities will be difficult. You know what I mean? I know he's built differently. He's built differently than me. He's a big, strong, strapping young lad. He's put a lot of muscle on. He looks like a proper number 9. He's earned his stripes at Bristol Rovers last year. Scored goals in League One. So he'll be desperate for an opportunity. But he'll get more minutes. He'll get good opportunities. But to throw him in straight away, I think is a bit of a risk and a big ask for the young player as well.
Fair enough.
Yeah. What's your thoughts?
I'm not too far away from your 11. I would question Johnny Howson, but then again, you've got to ask, well, who would it be in place of? Because I think we've looked better when Johnny's been in this season. Yeah,
I would agree.
We've not looked great, to be honest, at any point. But yeah, you've got the new guys and you've got the experience of O'Brien, who's going to undoubtedly slot straight in. Yeah. You wouldn't be dropping Hackney right now because he is the form player, which leaves one position in Carrick's preferred 4-3-3. Yeah. So who goes in there? We're talking about why isn't Riley McGree playing? You know, he is the link between midfield and the lads up front. So that's why I keep saying I can't disagree. Yeah, and I think that's the key, isn't it? You know what I mean? We're not being disrespectful, and we're not, you know what I mean? We limit the spaces available because Hayden's playing that well. He's coming off the back of a victory in an under-21 appearance, so he has to play. He has to play. New players have to play because they're being brought in to play, and then it doesn't leave many different options in different places. And I think everyone's crying out for Riley to play, and it would be for me it would be the biggest shock of the three if Riley didn't play. Yeah. You know, if Riley played and the other two didn't, yes, I'd be shocked. I'd be surprised, but not as shocked as if Riley didn't play at the weekend because we miss him so much. And I think, is it a coincidence that we've not performed this season with him not in the side? For me, I think he's the biggest player we've got in terms of stature, not physicality stature, but stature as in receiving the ball, wanting to make things happen, and wanting to win football matches and score goals, create chances. You know what I mean? Which takes us into prediction for the game, Dave. You know what I mean? It's the $1 million question. You know what I mean? Does your heart rule your head? You know, listen. I want us to win. I hope we do win. But it's going to be a really, really difficult game. And if someone offered me a positive result, as in a draw, right now I'd snap your hands off and I'd take it. But you know, with the record we've got there, not a fantastic place to go. They'll be confident. They'll go into it thinking they're going to win because it's a home game for them. And I'll be honest, I do believe that they'll probably will take away the 3 points. Oh look, they've done West Brom at home. Yeah. I know they slipped up to was it Hull City they slipped up to? Yeah, they did. Yeah. I can't see us winning. No. I'd take a 0-0 right now. I'm fearing it's going to be a 2-0 reverse. It's going to be we're going to get beat there. Yeah. However, I think we'll make up for it at against Sheffield Wednesday at Hillsborough. And then you look at the two games and you think we've taken 3 points rather than 2. Yep. It's actually a defeat at Blackburn and a victory at Hillsborough better than 2-0 draws. No, totally. It's a points total, isn't it? And if we can get the greater points total by the end of the week, then that's all positive. You know, if you get 2 draws, I know people will say, but we'll be unbeaten in 2 games. It's pros and cons, but it's all about the points total. You know, I mean, for me, it'll get us hopefully out of that bottom 3. The table will look a little bit better, and you're beating somebody in and around you. So for me, that's the biggest game is your next game. Obviously, this one, but you know, what I mean, if you've got to beat the team in and around you, we can be ultimately positive here and say, let's hold out and get another Ewood, and let's beat Wednesday at Hillsborough. That's 4 points. Yeah. I don't think we've got that in us. Yeah, and I think we're trying to be realistic. You know, we're not going to sit here and say we're going to win. It's going to be 6 points out of 6. You know, listen, we're a far cry away from those kind of predictions at the minute with the way that we're playing. Let's get a positive performance from Blackburn to take into some positivity at Sheffield Wednesday. You know what I mean? Yep. For me, performance is key at the weekend. You know what I mean? We need to see reaction from the QPR game. We need to see how the new players have hopefully settled in and bedded in, because that's really important. For the players to show that they've had a good solid week or 10 days training,
They're buying into the philosophy of what the manager wants them to do, because that's key for the chairman surely to see from an outside, from the inside looking in, because if the players aren't buying in, that'll be a worrying and alarming thing. You know what I mean? It's not about results, you know what I mean? Like, yes, it is in the bigger picture of things, the bigger scheme of things, but this week it's about, let's get a positive performance at Blackburn and let's get some points on the board this week. And if that's 3, fantastic. If it's more, listen, every Middlesbrough fan will be absolutely ecstatic by next Thursday watching the show.
Lee Williams, Riley and O'Brien definitely need to be starting. Chris Ryan, we still need Johnny. Paul Nicholas is saying, I fancy us to win on Saturday. Good on you, Paul. Love that one.
Yeah, so do I.
Ibrahim Tanner, McGree should be starting. Stu Gawley's been sniffing the barmaid's apron. Win against Blackburn, win against Sheffield Wednesday.
Very optimistic, and listen, I hope we come on the show on next Thursday, and I hope he's absolutely bang on, like all Middlesbrough fans do. But listen, we're not doom and gloom here. We're not saying things that I believe is out of order. We're being realistic and think that that Blackburn's going to be a tough game, like West Brom away was. And for me, I just don't think we're going in there with the confidence levels that we could have done, or maybe should have been doing.
Yeah, I mean, last season when we were on the good run, going to Ewood Park, I would put money on us to win.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
Totally. And I think they had a better side last year.
This year I can't.
Yeah, they had a better side last year for me with better players. You know what I mean? They've had a evolving time, and they're on a different journey and things, and you could look at that. But at the minute we're not as stable as we were last year. We haven't got the confidence levels that we had last year. So at the minute, let's take a step back. Let's look at the bigger picture, and for me, performance first and foremost. Let's get a positive performance, fill us full of confidence, and let's see where this week takes us.
Cracking.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks everybody. Great comments. Great guest.
About the Don next week.
If Dave will be replaced. But no, thanks Dave.
Cheers,
as always. Thanks guys.
Pleasure.